You've heard of Silicon Valley, right? Well, forget that for a second. We're heading up to the Pacific Northwest to talk about the Silicon Forest, Hillsboro, Oregon. It's a city right at the heart of a massive tech boom. But beyond all the big tech company names and that clever nickname, what's it actually like to live there? Let's get past the headlines and really try to understand what makes Hillsboro tick. And this contrast you're seeing here, this really gets to the heart of it all. On one hand, you've got these sleek, futuristic tech campuses, and on the other, something as down-to-earth as a community garden. It's this wild mix of global innovation and local life that we're going to dive into. To really get a handle on this place, we have to start with the basics. So let's kick things off by looking at what the numbers tell us about Hillsboro. First thing you need to know, the population is just over 109,000 people. That makes it Oregon's fifth largest city. So, it's big enough to have plenty going on, but it's not some sprawling megacity. All right, now for the question everyone asks. How much does it cost to live here? The big headline number is that the cost of living is 15% higher than the US average. But honestly, that single number is kind of misleading. And here's why. This is where it gets really interesting. You might actually save money on your utility bills, but just look at that housing number. It's a whopping 29% higher than average. So yeah, that dream of living in the Silicon Forest, it comes with a pretty steep price tag for your home. But look, data can only tell you so much, right? To get the full picture, we went straight to the source, the people who actually live there. And what they say reveals a city of some really fascinating contrasts. For a lot of folks, the big appeal is this sense of space, that connection to nature. Like Redditor Timbermoto points out, it's just not as crowded and you're right next to all this open farmland. And building on that, another user, Rogue Modron, argues that Hillsboro has a real soul to it, a genuine sense of community that's built around a downtown, something they feel is totally missing from its neighbor, Beaverton. But there's another side to this story, and it's a much darker one. This user paints a pretty stark picture, pointing out serious problems with crime and feeling like the police aren't there when you need them. It's a huge reminder that any city growing this fast is going to have some serious growing pains. So a lot of the local debate boils down to this classic suburban trade-off. In Hillsboro, you get a quieter vibe, that access to nature, and apparently incredible Mexican food. Over in Beaverton, you get more restaurants and you're closer to Portland, but you're going to pay for it with a lot more traffic. Okay, so you've got this mix of opinions, people who love it and people who are really frustrated. It all leads to this massive question. How is the city itself trying to navigate all of this and shape its own future? Well, the answer actually lies in a really deliberate and thought-out approach to city planning. So let's take a look at Hillsboro's official game plan for the future. It's called the Hillsboro 2035 Community Plan. And what's so cool about this is that it's not some top-down plan made behind closed doors. It was built using feedback from over 5,000 residents. It's a genuine effort to shape the city's growth from the ground up. And the plan's vision statement? It hits that core conflict we've been talking about right on the head, blending an urban lifestyle with its farming roots and mixing a high-tech economy with a family-friendly vibe. This is the tightrope Hillsboro is trying to walk. To try and make this all happen, the plan is built on 5 key pillars. And these cover pretty much everything. We're talking public safety, education, the economy, and the environment. It's a really comprehensive way of trying to build a city, not just letting it sprawl out of control. So all that sounds great on paper, right? But how does a high-level plan like this actually connect back to the real-world worries of the people living there? Let's see how this vision actually turns into action. Hey, remember that comment from the Redditor about Hillsboro having a real center? Well, the plan directly supports that. It calls for making downtown more vibrant, fixing up historic buildings, and creating more public spaces. It's a direct shot at strengthening that sense of community people value so much. And what about the biggest issue we saw in the data, that crazy cost of housing? The plan tackles it head-on. There's a formal strategy to create more housing for workers and even explore new ideas like pocket neighborhoods, which are basically these small clusters of homes designed to feel more like a community. It shows they're definitely aware of the affordability crisis. All right, we've looked at the numbers, we've heard from the residents, and we've gone through the city's official plan. So what's the final verdict on Hillsboro? Let's put all the pieces together. Here's the big picture. The pros are pretty compelling. You've got a booming tech job market, that unique mix of city and country life, and a city that's actually trying to plan for its future. But the cons are just as real. A high cost of living, you pretty much need a car to get around, and all the social challenges that come with growing so fast. And oh yeah, you're gonna need a good umbrella. At the end of the day, Hillsboro is a city that refuses to just let the future happen to it. It's a community full of contrasts, and it's deliberately trying to navigate this massive transformation from a quiet farming town into a global tech center, all while trying really hard not to lose its soul. And all of this leaves us with one last big question. As Hillsboro tackles these universal challenges, growth, affordability, identity, is it accidentally writing a new blueprint for the 21st century suburb? The answer to that could matter far beyond the Silicon Forest.